Ashleigh, welcome to the Coach's Spotlight. And how you been doing?
Good. Really good, actually. Really good.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
Great. So, Ashleigh, before we get started, let's talk a little bit about you, your age, family, work, a little bit about Hashimoto's. So, I'm gonna go ahead and let you kind of tell our audience a little bit about that.
Okay, so I just turned 40 in July. So that was kind of the big birthday recently. But I'm married. My husband and I have 4 kids together. We have 3 that are in the house right now. We have one that's graduated, and so she's doing her thing. But and I work for Farmers Insurance, and so I have an office job. I actually work from home now, full time ever since like COVID and everything happened. So sitting a lot during the day. And let's see. So Hashimoto's. So I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's in 2018. And what it is it is an autoimmune disorder that impacts your thyroid. And so basically a lot of people are familiar with like hypothyroidism, which means you have a slow thyroid. It causes weight gain, lots of unpleasant symptoms. You get cold really easy. You can be very irritable, and stress impacts it too, tired a lot, all of those things. Hashimoto's takes it a step further because it means that not only does my body not naturally produce enough thyroid to keep it functioning well, my body and my immune system also creates antibodies that attack my thyroid. So even if it's trying to work and do the things it needs to do, my body recognizes it as like a foreign entity, like a bacteria or virus, and it attacks it. So it's one of those things, because it's an autoimmune, it's not very well understood. So a lot of the symptoms that you can kind of have, I mean, I always tell people it feels sometimes like a fake disease, because it just sounds like regular problems, like you're tired, or you gain weight, or and I've had so many doctors say, oh, well, your metabolism, and as we get older our metabolism changes, and all of those things. I finally got the diagnosis because I had gained like 27 pounds in like 2.5 months, with really not a change in things that I was doing. We'd come back from a vacation, and so I'm sure some of that was like vacation fun, but then it just really spiraled out of control. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things with diet that impact most autoimmunes, and Hashimoto's is no different. But the weight was a huge struggle with that for me, for sure.
All right. And Ashleigh actually was my coaching client, and we started back in October 2021.
Yep.
Is that correct? And
yep.
That's pretty much a year or so ago. And just to let the audience know, she as of now has lost 45 pounds. And let me make it clear, with Hashimoto's, that's not something that just goes away, correct?
Right. No, I'll always have it. I mean, I do take medication for it, but medication alone doesn't change the weight for me personally. So yeah, I mean, and I want to say,
right,
starting the program, the 10-week program, I mean, it definitely wasn't 10 weeks and all of that was gone, right? Like magic. It's definitely been something to work at, but it put me on the right path, that I've been able to continue after that time ended.
Amazing. And I mean, congratulations. I mean, that's amazing. 45 pounds, and it hasn't been a perfect road. And
right.
Some people ask about the 10-week program, and they want to say, is this something that's going to fix me? I'm like, it's not here to fix you. It's to turn you around mentally and physically. Yeah. So it's not just another eat this workout program, which so many people do depend on, thinking that's the answer. They're like, oh,
right,
if I get the magic plan and the perfect eating plan and the perfect workout, it's all going to work out for me. But you are definitely a living testimony of someone who did the mindset work, did the underlying issue work, and changed your whole attitude towards this with Hashimoto's.
Right. No, and I think that's what probably is the biggest difference is just, I know we're going to talk about this later, so I'm probably getting ahead, but just the mindset, made a huge difference too. So.
Absolutely. If you could sum up how you felt about yourself, weight loss, and your health prior to the coaching program, what were your thoughts?
Well, one thing that I know we had to work on a lot with me with the 10-week program was just the acceptance of where I was at, because I think that I was in, why don't you always make me cry, Travis? I was in, such a place of maybe a denial of kind of where things were at, but also just, super uncomfortable. So I would try to like hide, what I looked like or whatever, even though, it sounds so dumb now because I look back at pictures and I'm like, oh, well, it wasn't hidden. Like it wasn't, but I felt, I would try to do all these things to try to make up for, the weight gain. I would get very stressed out about anytime I was going to see people that I hadn't seen for a while, or, go on certain trips or different thing or special occasions, things like that. And, it was just embarrassing. And I would always try to probably be the person that would act like it really didn't bother me that much, but it 100% affected every part of my day, really, and, so yeah, I didn't feel very good about myself, and kind of felt like, you get excited about a new program, I think. And so if anybody who's been through, usually if you've struggled with weight, you've probably been through several different avenues to try to lose, and things work and then they don't last, or things maybe don't work the way that you think they will or whatever. And so I kind of was thinking, okay, well, I knew of Travis, and I had worked with him before, like a long time ago, with like a 6-week program. And so I was like, okay, well, his programs work. I know about this. But I knew I needed a little bit more help. But I wasn't in a good place self-esteem or confidence wise before starting a program, for sure.
Definitely. How long would you say how long did you struggle with your weight, or your struggle to lose weight? And how did that make you feel? How did that affect your family, self-esteem, and most importantly, your personal life?
Yeah. I think I shared this with you during the program. I think you asked like how long I had thought about my weight, or how long in my life had I been on a diet. And I probably had started thinking about weight at a very young age. I remember being 14, 15, and thinking about how much I was going to eat, and those kind of things, probably a lot. Even though back then I was smaller, I probably didn't have to worry as much as I did, but I did. And then fast forward, after, having kids and, going through a divorce, I lost weight, eating healthy and things, and then, got remarried. And, we, would, instead of, maybe going for a run, I would, want to hang out, with my husband and that sort of thing. And then once the Hashimoto's and all the, weight came on pretty suddenly, yeah, like I said, it kind of impacted my confidence with everything. And I would worry about, even stuff like this, like being on like a Zoom or like a thing for work, because we do that a lot. I would want to make sure like the camera is positioned a certain way to make sure, like if I don't have a double chin, any picture anybody ever took of me, I would screen, if somebody tagged me and stuff, like go untag things that I didn't feel like were flattering. It was just a constant. And my husband would get so frustrated. He gets so frustrated with me because, he might say something like, oh, babe, you look beautiful. Or, he was always so encouraging. Right. And he knew that it was a struggle, and I was trying, because I never was, I never was not working out. Like I always did that. My diet would kind of go like this, but, he would encourage me or say, baby, you look beautiful. Like I love, you look great. And I definitely would just come straight in negative Nancy, like, oh my gosh, I'm just disgusting. Or, I'd go to try to put on clothes, and it would just be like, I hate everything in my closet. I don't have anything to wear. It was just a constant, situation. And, also just having children and having girls in particular, I want to be a good example. So I would try to not talk about that kind of stuff in front of them, because I didn't want, my mom would talk about dieting and stuff, being born in the 80s, everything was like a fad diet. And so, she would talk about that stuff all the time. And so I kind of grew up that way. And I'm sure that probably impacts body image, right? And so I didn't want to ever do that to the girls. But at the same time, I wanted to be an example of being healthy to them, right? And that's important. And since Hashimoto's is genetic, right? I mean, they may not have it, but I'm the only one in my immediate family that does that I know of. But they could, right? And so I want to, be able to show, hey, you can be healthy and you can, do things and get through this. So, but yeah, just a constant struggle and battle, I would say.
Today I had a similar conversation with one of my coaching clients in regards to the husband saying, "You're beautiful. I love you the way you are, all that." And I genuinely believe that men love their wives, and I like you the way you are. You're fine, but men don't understand that that's great, but I'm not feeling the way I want to feel, which reflects into the relationship. And sometimes men feel like, "Oh, you don't love me. You're not attracted to me anymore."
Yeah.
And it's really not about that. It's about how Ashleigh was feeling at that time.
Yeah. And it 100% affected that. And I mean, just, because I mean, when you don't feel good about yourself and you don't want to, you don't want to really, be intimate and stuff, because you just feel, I mean, I was just disgusted with myself. So my assumption is, well, if I'm disgusted with myself, then he is too, even though that's not true. You tell yourself those things, right? So yeah, it definitely affects all of that, for sure.
Yeah. 100%. Tell me a little bit about what programs, diets did you try to lose weight on, and what was it like? How did it make you feel seeing those programs, diets work for other people as you still struggled?
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sucks. I mean, really. I mean, it just does. We would do things like, my husband and I would do Whole30, which, clean eating is really good for autoimmune conditions. And so, there's definitely benefits from that. And I did lose some weight, but, my husband, lost like 18 pounds in like 2 weeks. And I'd be like, oh, well, I lost 4 and now I've gained 2. And now, I've lost 6 and gained 1. I mean, and I mean, yeah, that's super frustrating. And, I had a good friend of mine who also, had done that program and lost a ton. And I mean, I'm just like, well, I'm doing the same thing. Right. And it just becomes super frustrating. And I mean, it then kind of makes that cycle of just kind of getting depressed about it. Like I've never really been somebody who gets in a depression, like a full depression, but yeah, I mean, you just kind of feel like, okay, there's no hope, like nothing's really going to work. Like this is just how it's going to be. So I felt like I would cycle into, being super crazy about like, okay, I'm going to do all, like my husband would always say, Ashleigh has 2 modes. It's like all the things or like nothing. Right. And that's so true, because I would be like, okay, I'm going to do Whole30. I'm going to work out 6 times a week. I'm going to, only drink water, and I'm going to, just like do all of these things. And sometimes things like very, very restrictive too. Right. And then not get the results that I want, and then feel defeated. And then I would stop, and then, go into like a binge eating mode, really, that I probably hid a lot. And, just continue that cycle of frustration, so it'd be like, I got to do something about it. I got to do something about it. I'm going to do all the things. And then you just sort of burn out and you get frustrated and you just go back to what you were doing before. And then you gain it back, and sometimes gain it back plus. So, what other programs? I mean, Oh gosh. I mean, Whole30, I mean, I had done just, I mean, gosh, I'm just keto, like South Beach. I mean, just, all the things basically, different boot camp programs, things like that. Running, which I enjoy, but, just like trying to run off a diet, I guess. And I mean, honestly, intermittent fasting. Um, and then, there's probably times where, I mean, I was very restrictive on my calorie intake, right? And would kind of, feel like, okay, well, I need to only eat 900 calories, definitely not more than, 1,000 calories a day, or I'm doing terrible. And I came to you, Travis, and you gave me those, you know, we worked out our coaching plan and the foods that I was going to eat. And I remember telling you, like, I can't eat this many calories. Like, I'm going to gain weight, because I mean, I was so used to feeling like I had to restrict. And, so I mean, I don't know. I probably have done everything that you can think of. I mean, cleanses. I mean, it's like all the things, right? The drink, there's like a lemon and water and like cayenne pepper thing. It's like disgusting. I mean, done that, like all the things. So yeah.
And so many things I just caught out of that, where my three decades of coaching women, don't we, when we have this struggle, go from one extreme to the other? You talked about
Yes.
restriction, then binge.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yep.
as much as I asked the question, how you felt about other people succeeding, truly, they probably weren't succeeding, because if the
Yeah.
plan wasn't sustainable, that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. You have a struggle. Women that I coach, you've got this struggle already. And when you're
Mhm.
approaching it with something that's not sustainable and it's
Right.
restrictive, it's a recipe for failure. Why would someone
Right.
think approaching a struggle with, I've got to do this, I've got to have willpower, I've got to force this and stick to it? I hate that word,
Mm-hmm.
stick to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Developing a plan with foods you like to eat and working down the road where it's like, wow, I'm hungry. I'm not hungry all the time. I'm eating a lot of food. But the
Right.
fear, hey, you're going to make me fat, comes
Yeah.
in. When in
Yeah.
reality, that's one of the missing links, is the under eating that the weight loss industry has done
Mm-hmm.
amazing at programming females to do. Eat less, weigh
Mm-hmm.
less.
Right. Yeah.
When in
Yeah.
reality, more food equals faster metabolism. So,
Yep.
but,
Right. Right.
um, well, how did you feel mentally, emotionally, and physically every time you started a new diet? Did you get like hyped up and like, I'm gonna do it this time and I'm gonna
Oh
stick to
yeah.
it?
Yeah, you get that high and that like, excitement of, all the stuff. I mean, I can't even imagine how much money I've put into different protein shakes and supplements and all the thing, all of that kind of stuff too. Just over the years, thinking like, this is going to be the solve. This is going to fix it. Like, I'm going to get it all. I'm going to lose all the weight, and it's going to be gone, and I'm going to be done with that, and I can just move on with life. And so, yeah, you get that high, like going into it, and that excitement and that energy. And then, but when the results aren't there, and there's no, change in behaviors and mental and emotions behind it, then you lose that high really quick, because it gets difficult and life happens too,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And so many times the biggest thing I really cringe about when I see people who are struggling is what you just said. They get on that high, I'm going to do it, and this sounds cool, it's different, it's weird,
Mm-hmm.
it's exciting, right? When you go up to the top of the mountain, there's only one place to come, and that's down. You
Right.
can't always stay up here. And
Right.
actually, I've known you for a long time, and you're never what I call a depressing person.
Yeah.
But even with your personality, when you rose up to those new exciting diets, you had to come down to some kind of a
Yep.
depression when the realization of this
Yeah.
isn't sustainable. I'm not going to be able to do it long term. So
Right.
that's the missing link right there, is sustainability long term. I've got
Yep.
people who come up and say, hey, I want to do your coaching program because I heard you let us pick out foods that we like and put cheese and sour cream, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to do that. And I'm like, that's such a smart part of this program. That's
Right.
great. You get to eat food you like and you're going to lose
Right.
weight. But if we don't change up here, the perspective and work on underlying issues that we're carrying around that we don't even realize, we're never going to succeed long term. It's a struggle. It's always going to be a struggle. And you've got to learn how to live your best life ever by being consciously aware of some of the things maybe you weren't conscious about. So,
Right.
all right. And you've done amazing doing that. So, let me ask you this. At a time when so many times you tried and you failed so many times, and I come and we talk our little 10-minute call to kind of get a discovery call about where you're at, where you're wanting to go and what's going on now. What made you invest in yourself and invest in the coaching program after failing with so many other programs? What gave you the hope that this was different?
Honestly, I think it was the questions that you asked me. And I mean, I feel like you made me cry a little bit that first little call too, and so I realized, okay, this is going to be different and we're going to talk about different things and we're going to actually be uncomfortable. Like I'm going to have to think about things that are a little bit uncomfortable, right? To kind of get to some roots of some things and just figure out why I'm still in this pattern, right? And also just I felt like there's trust and you weren't going to let me fail, right? And you weren't going to let me quit, that. So I was like, okay, at least I'm going to be stuck with him for this time, right? and I feel like I'm going to get something out of it. But I think just that, you mentioned it, when you come down from that high of starting something and then that failure hits, because you feel like, if I'm on this restrictive thing and these are the only things I can do, these are the only things I can eat, I can only eat this much, and then you mess up, it's just that's awful. That's such an awful feeling. And I remember you talking about, that it was the sustainability, it was the lifestyle, and we were going to talk about, all the different things that go into it. And you were also really I loved that you were really real and opened up about your struggles and stuff too. They're different than mine, right? But you were open and honest about those things. And I mean, that just lends a lot to trust too, right? So, that's why I decided to do that.
Yeah. And the whole objective, and the only reason we work with a very small group of people at a time, is we have to know about your life and actually get in your life for 2.5 months. That's a long time. Like you said, we were joined together, the ups and the downs. And that's the only way you can really figure out a person's need with the struggle, because it's on an individual basis.
Right.
Awesome. What was the biggest difference in this approach compared to the others you tried?
I would say definitely the individual basis. I think I've always, doing different boot camps or having a coach. Oh, I've done, I did Beachbody before, where you have a coach, but it's a coach of a Facebook group with 1 million people, right? It's not the same thing. So having that one-on-one, was huge. And that's a huge difference. Being able to go through and I remember you sent me the list of all the foods, and my instinct was I wanted to pick only the healthiest foods on the thing at first. And and I remember you talking about the cheese and the sour cream and that was such a different approach, but the sustainability aspect and that thought of, this is what we're going to do. And instead of it being, you can only do these things for this amount of time, and then you just go back to eating as you were before, right? That's not going to work. That was so different. But I would say the biggest thing was just the work that we did, mentally, and just, talking about, I've never talked about so many feelings about weight and eating and food and stuff. And it made me realize things that I didn't even know, right, about myself until we, talked through that. So it was almost like therapy plus nutrition, So it was very different, and it was great. And I think those things, that the mental work, is what makes it sustainable also, because you realize I don't have to hate myself where I'm at. I don't have to be disgusted with myself where I'm at. I can accept and the things that we had to memorize and read every day, right? Like the statements.
Affirmation.
Yes, affirmations, statements. It seems so silly at first, but it really does make you appreciate, what you're doing in your body. And I did see a huge difference for myself between, being just not feeling so disgusted all the time, thinking, okay, this is where I'm at and this is okay, but I'm working towards better.
And what you said is so spot on, is when you have a struggle, and let's talk about weight loss since that's what the topic is, we often look at ourselves and say, when I'm here, I'll be happy. When I lose 20 pounds, when I lose this, or when I can wear the bathing suit. And the reality is, like you so amazingly did, you dove into a very hard thing, which I was coaching you on. It's like, we've got to be content right now where we are while not being complacent.
Right.
And when you learn to be, what you said, I don't have to hate myself by the way I look right now. Well, you really don't have an option. So you might as well learn to be content and love yourself right now, because we can't change this overnight.
Right.
But the beauty and the inspiration is, I'm content where I am right now, but I'm not being complacent. I'm putting in steps day by day to make that change. So we can't live in yesterday of how we used to look, and we can't live in the future of when I get there. The true piece of sustainability is starting to be content right now where you are. And see, that has nothing to do with an eating plan and a workout, so to speak. But if we don't have that in place, the eating plan, the workout eventually will not hold its toe, and it will fall apart, because it's got to change up here, our perspective of where we're at right now. And I love now, I see you on Facebook with your Xena or whatever it's called, promoting your tights. And that's something I don't think you would have been doing when I first met you.
No, for sure.
I might go, good job, Ashleigh.
For sure. Yeah. And, I think even when it was still a struggle, just building, the confidence and being able to feel better about myself, to where it wasn't like the weight and stuff wasn't foremost on my mind 24/7. I was able to kind of like let go of some of that. Not to perfect. I think some of it's just ingrained, unfortunately, sometimes as women and stuff like that. And obviously, we still think about it and all of that, but it's just different, right? It's not the overarching thing that defines everything about me. And I feel like that's where it was, before. Right. So,
well,
I had a thought and now I lost it.
That's okay. Okay. I love asking this question of my coaching clients who are down the road like you are a year, because some people would say, well, what happens after the 10 weeks? Because I'll be the first to tell you, my 6-week challenge is no longer offered because of the things we've been talking about here. My heart was in the right place, but no one was learning what I was trying to put in, because they were so fixated on the 20 pounds and getting money back. And so the focus is here. But you being down the road now, what would you say to people, since you're way past the 10-week mark, what surprised you the most about the changes in your perspective towards weight loss now, a year later?
Just looking at it from a lifestyle and a holistic thing, instead of, it was always for me. And I think it's good to have goals, and I think it's good to look ahead and have something that maybe you want to look forward to and be a certain way and stuff. But before, I would always say, okay, well, I have to lose at least 20 pounds, or I have to lose at least whatever before I can go on, this vacation or this trip or whatever it is that we had planned. And then when I would get to the point where I didn't, then that's another thing to just be mad at yourself about, right? And feel like a failure about. And so now, looking at it as just like a lifestyle thing. It's not about just what the next thing is and then going on and going back to your regular eating. It's just about like, this is how it is. And it's sustainable. And I never feel like I never feel like I can't have something anymore. I mean, and I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but but I mean,
No.
like, I'm kind of like, okay, like if there's something, that I want to have, like Thanksgiving, for instance, we just had Thanksgiving, and I avoid gluten now, and I have gluten for a while because that's something that impacts me with Hashimoto's. So I made, my dressing like gluten free and stuff. Made everybody else their thing, and had the pie and all the stuff, and and I had everything that I wanted, for Thanksgiving, and I did have some that night too, even though thought I was going to do just one meal, but I was like, you know what, I want to have a little bit more. But then that was it, and I was okay with that. You know what I mean? Like it
Yep.
wasn't, and I didn't beat myself up about it, and you just move on, right? And I think before, I could have done one of two things. I could have just ate it for a long time, and made myself sick about it, and then been mad about myself, mad at myself or whatever, or been like, oh, I can only eat this little, tiny bit, and then not enjoy, it, and not enjoy, because of course our family has lots of special recipes, right, that we've made for, my grandma, and so on and so on. So those are important. And I think now, I can enjoy myself, and I'm not also eating to excess. Like I'm okay to stop. I don't feel like I have to fit all this in. You know what I mean? I don't
Yep.
know. Or, you get to that point where when you're on a diet or something and then you mess up, then I would do the thing where I'd be like, oh, well, I've already messed up today, so let me mess up and eat all the things that I want in this day. But sometimes then that would turn into like a week of that, right? And so it's just a terrible cycle. So I think now it's just, I don't feel like there's food is bad. Like you can't have these things because these are bad. Like it's just, if I want it, I can have it. And what I notice is that I don't feel like I have to have it all the time. Like I was telling my husband, like I don't have the cravings that I used to have for like chocolate. I mean, used to, like, we could not keep chocolate like in the house, which, when you have kids, I mean, because I would just want to have, like, I could not control myself with like candy. Like I would just want to eat it all. Like, so Halloween would just be a disaster. And so, this year, and when we have stuff, it's like I might have a little bit, but then I can be done. And I'm perfectly happy with that. I'm not restricting,
Yep.
So it's thinking about it from a long-term perspective is a huge, huge difference. Now I feel bad because I'm like, yeah, I had candy. I mean, but but I do want people to know that, you can, you shouldn't feel like certain foods are bad unless, like gluten for me is, it doesn't work for me. It's not good for my body. But, for normal people, there shouldn't be things that you feel is bad or evil food, right? Like we should be able to enjoy something that we enjoy in a balance and in a healthy way.
Let me tell you what's funny about Ashleigh saying this right now. She's apologizing to you guys about, should I tell them I had candy? Should I tell them this? She actually learned that on this program.
Yeah.
And I heard her say it 3 times. There's no good or bad food. And if you knew how long it took me to get her to believe that
Yeah.
there's no good or bad food. And the weight loss industry has said cake is bad, chicken is good, and that's it. Number one, when she talks about goals, yes, what we do is help you to set meaningful incentives.
Yeah.
Not a goal with a number, a meaningful incentive. I want to do this. I want to climb this hill. I want to hike, whatever. But the fun fact about Ashleigh is she's no longer carb sensitive.
Yeah.
If I had one thing to tell you about the weight loss industry that they're destroying you with, is they're making you carb sensitive by this keto, low carb stuff.
Yeah.
You weren't designed to go no carbs. I know it works and it feels amazing how fast it is. Here's the downfall. When you're carb sensitive, if you have some Halloween candy, like Ashley said, you blow up like a balloon overnight.
Yep.
You gain weight back and you're like, oh, I can look at a cookie and I gain 10 pounds. Yes, you're right. You're carb sensitive. But here's the fun thing about Ashleigh. She actually went on a vacation to Disney World for a week.
Yep.
Okay. And while she was there, she had a thing called a Dole Whip, and she
Yes.
lost 2 pounds while she was on that vacation.
Yep.
So she was talking about going on trips and dreading it and losing weight before the trip, only to go on the trip and gain the weight back. She went on the trip, was not restrictive, had this Dole Whip. I think that's an ice cream thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
And lost 2 pounds because she's understanding now there's no good and bad food. It's about knowing how to work the system. And
Yep.
she's actually now apologizing for telling you guys that she had some candy and stuff. When I call that a great moment for me, that you actually now believe that, oh, should I say that, when that's what you learned? So
Yeah.
good for you. I love it.
Yep.
If you could sum up your outlook on weight loss, your health, and just your overall feelings about life after the program, what are your thoughts?
I mean, obviously it feels amazing to have confidence back and to, uh, you know, put on clothes and like them and feel good about yourself and not feel like I have to hide and that sort of thing. That's been great, but also just being able to not feel like you're stuck and not feel like, a failure and not feel like, that like there's no hope, right? And just knowing that I don't have to be in that mindset anymore, right? And so, it's so much more confidence and just happiness and it's just no longer something that is managing my whole day for me, right? It's that's just all of those I can't talk. All the stress and anxiety over like weight is gone. But it's not just because I'm where I'm at now. I mean, it started like with the program and I didn't, it wasn't a smooth, perfect, 10 weeks weight loss and continued, exactly the whole time. Like, I still had, after the 10 weeks, I maintained and lost a little bit more. And then, kind of, went through a little bit of an up, again. Because I wasn't putting things into practice like I had learned. Right. And so, and I don't know why. I don't know. I just got busy and let myself. And we talked about in the program a lot about being busy and how you have to plan ahead, and and if you're not, then that's what's causing all the fast food and all the things that we know aren't great decisions. And so I did go back into some of those habits for a little while, and then my then I knew I was getting close to summer, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm turning 40 in the summer, and we're doing it. My friends threw me a huge, which this was a big stressor, a big 40th birthday at like a resort. So like in a swimsuit and all that. And so that happened, and then my dad got sick. And so I was spending a lot of time when usually I was in the gym 4 or 5 days a week. All of my free time was kind of spent between kids and then going to take care of my dad. And my kids are waving at me. And so I knew that I had to go back to the habits that I had learned, get back in the grocery store and the meal planning and the prep and the thinking about, whether I'm home or not, like, what am I going to do food wise, so that I could just have a little bit of sanity and peace, right? Because there were so many things that I felt like I didn't have control over. And that was one thing that I knew that I could. And so I just got real serious about it, right? And it's just then I started like really losing weight again and getting back to where I needed to get. And I wasn't where I am now on my 40th birthday, but I was in a great spot. I felt confident. I felt good. I wasn't embarrassed. Like I liked the pictures. I mean, it just it made it so much fun. Whereas before, that would have been, I could have pretended to have fun, but I would have been worried about my weight the whole time and embarrassed, and so I mean, it's just made such a difference. And so now, even though, so I do want people to know that, it's not 10 weeks and then everything about you is perfect and you're never gonna, slip up or anything again, but you have the tools and you know what you're supposed to do and you can go back into it, and it's not that restrictive program where you fail and you're done. You can, it's just that lifestyle. So it doesn't have to be like that again. It's not a complete start over. It's just a continuation. Right. So, so yeah, I mean, I'm so happy to be where I'm at right now. It wasn't an easy road, but it was an important road and well worth it for sure.
And Ashleigh, as we talked through the entire 10 weeks, and I continue to pound this down, it's a struggle.
Yeah.
And I'll say about my anxiety, I tried to make it go away and spent 8 months killing myself. Horrible life. I was going to fix it, make it go away. Once I shifted what I do with my clients and said,
right,
you got to struggle. It's not going away. That was about 41% of relief, just saying, okay, it's a struggle for a reason.
Yeah.
But we go along, and even me, there's some nights I miss a 10-minute meditation session at night. I find out 2-3 weeks later, that's not a good thing, but I go right back to, because I know I can have an amazing life with my pillars and yours.
Right.
Look how you came back without anybody making you or fixing you or coming at you. You knew the feeling you had lost.
Right.
And you wanted to go back because they were sustainable steps that we had learned together.
Right. It's not like I had to, I mean, not that it would have been great, I'm sure. And I would have, but I mean, I didn't have to restart a program or restart another 10 weeks or anything like that. Like, it was just, you had already given me the tools. I was already equipped. And I just went back into it. And, it was one of those things where I also didn't have to, like, I don't know. I feel like I had gotten into a mode with so many other programs where I would like tell everybody, like, I'm doing this thing, and I would have to like talk about, what I was doing like all the time. And it's good to talk about it. And that was part of the program too, was to talk about, what you're doing, without, trying to change everybody else's perspective and stuff in the moment too. But I mean, I was able to just go straight back into those steps and the pillars without, starting something over, without, telling everybody. And then people started asking me, like, what are you doing? And, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And, I mean, it's funny because it's really not, everybody when they ask me that, they want it to be something that's going to fix them. And they want it to be something quick and something like, I'm doing keto, I'm doing, whatever. Like, they want it to be something that's going to be a super quick fix. And so when I tell them what it is, like, they're kind of just like, oh, okay. Like, it's just funny, but that's what works. I mean, this is what's important, and this is what works. So it's just, yeah.
And it's boring sounding to them.
Yeah.
It's hard for you to explain something that was built about you, and because it's not on a piece of paper and you can hand it to them. And if I'll finish this part up, the reason you so easily were able to come back again, we built that around you, your personality, your life, how you feel about things. So it was easy for you to connect again because it was your whole doing. I presented it. I gave you options. We worked with it, how you think, how you act. And when it's about Ashleigh, yeah, that's me over there waiting on me to come back again. And so it was an easy connection.
Yes, absolutely. That's so much better said. What I was trying to say, but yes, exactly.
Ashleigh, on a final note, what encouragement do you have for someone who is going through the cycle you went through before finding the coaching program? What kind of encouragement would you have for them?
One thing, I mean, I know, I mean, it is an investment, right? But I think that, what I have realized is it's the most important investment I can make in myself, is to take care of myself, take care of my body, find something that works for me. And like you said, it was tailored, to me specifically, so that it's not difficult to continue doing. And my plan wouldn't work for other people, but you would be able to work with them and customize something that works for them, works for their lifestyle, works for their, what they like to eat, and all of those things. And I mean, if it can work for me, in whether you have like an autoimmune and Hashimoto's, thyroid, whatever issues or not, then it's going to work for anybody. You have to decide that that's what you want to do. And thinking about just the investment, like, I mean, if I added up like everything that I had spent previous to this on things that didn't work, I don't want to add it up, really.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to know, because, so I would imagine if people are here and they're listening to this, or they've talked to you and they want to do coaching, this probably isn't the first thing that they've ever thought about or tried, right? And so they've probably already, invested time and money and effort and emotions into things that didn't work. So, I mean, this is something that will and gives them a complete different mental outlook. And so, I mean, it's important. And I mean, I definitely encourage them to do that. And, just, lean into it, right? And lean into some of those uncomfortable conversations. And it really is one of those things where, you get in, you get out of it what you put in, and doing the work and doing the homework and the affirmations, it really does come full circle. And now, looking back, like, I realized, some of the stuff that I was like, oh, this is goofy, at first, like, I completely realized like why it was so important, and it's made such an impact for me. And so, just, man, if you want better confidence, you want to lose weight, you want to, get yourself on a better path and get control of what you're doing, in a way that you can sustain for your lifestyle. I mean, this is something that they should definitely do.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to come on
no
here. And it's always, even though I don't see you weekly anymore, I love seeing your progress continue as you continue to post. And
Thank you.
we chat every once in a while, but just thank you so much for coming on. Ashleigh, busy mom, busy worker, Hashimoto's, down 45 pounds. And I couldn't be more proud as your coach of the success you made and that you're going to make. So
thank you.
Hey, love you,
Thank
girl,
you so much.
and continue on rocking. And we'll speak in the future.
Okay, sounds good, Travis. Thank you, guys.
Anyone that is interested, see ya.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone that's interested in hearing a little bit more about what we do, we always offer a 10-minute discovery call just to find out where you are, what's going on, and where you want to be. It's a 10-minute call. All you got to do is comment in here, whether you're here now or you watch the recording later. Come in there, want to hear more. And me or Amanda will hit you up for a 10-minute call, just kind of see if you're fit for the program or not and what's going on with you. But thanks for tuning in, supporting Ashleigh. And thanks everyone that's watching, and have an amazing night. We'll talk to you soon.